Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Dominion, would you lead us in the salute to the flag, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Those in warrants of the New Jersey Public News Love and satisfied by forwarding news release to Asbury Park Press on December 20th, 2014, stating that a regular meeting of the Middlesex Township Committee would be held on January 28th, 2015, 7:30 p.m. at Town Hall. Notice regarding to be posted on the Township website. A copy is on file at the office of the Township Clerk.
Thank you, Administrator. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Orgo.
Here.
Committeeman Engel.
Here.
Committeeman McNally cannot attend tonight. Committeeman Fitzgerald.
Here.
Mayor Jackson.
Here. Item number 1 is approval of minutes meeting of January 14, 2015. Any comments by the committee? Issues, corrections?
Does the version we have about the most recent one in the packet, with the change in there?
It is incorporated, yes.
With that, I would move the minutes.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Orgo.
Yes.
Committeeman Engel.
As I was unable to attend, I'll have to abstain.
Committeeman Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes. Item number 2 is the mayor's proclamation, close to what I do for a living, actually. 2015 National Wear Red Day for Women within the Township of Cold Snack. Whereas diseases of the heart are the nation's leading causing, let me try that again, are the nation's leading cause of death, and stroke is the 4th leading cause of death. And whereas cardiovascular disease claims the lives of nearly 420,000 American females every year, that's approximately 1 death per minute. And whereas nearly as many women die of heart disease, stroke, and all other cardiovascular diseases as other 4 leading causes of death. And whereas February is designated as American Heart Month, and February 6th will mark the 12th anniversary celebration of National Wear Red for Women. Now, therefore, I, James C. Schatzel, Mayor of the Township of Colts Neck, in recognition of the importance of the ongoing fight against heart disease and stroke, do hereby proclaim Friday, February 6, 2015, to be the 12th anniversary National Wear Red for Women Day. So, AmericanHeart.org is an incredible website of the American Heart Association. I would encourage everybody to visit that if they have a chance. And lots of information. And yes, absolutely, on February 6th. Ordinance 2015-1 is an ordinance entitled the 2015 Salary Ordinance for the Township of Colts Neck Police Department. This is a second reading by title. Bob, you just want to highlight, since there were some members of the public that weren't here last meeting?
Yes, Mayor, at the last meeting, we announced the settlement with our police union, and this is the salary ordinance which authorizes the pay to the pursuant to the 2015 salary guide. For top step patrolmen and sergeants, the increase is 1.5% of last year's pay. There are a number of patrolmen that are within what we call step guide. There's probably another 1.5% of money within the steps. The town also was able to negotiate 3 additional steps, which will save money over time. And we also put in a clause about a mandatory uniform inspection, whereby we would replace uniforms as required pursuant to that inspection. So this is salary ordinance to implement that contract.
Excellent. You did, as always, a wonderful job negotiating that contract, and I appreciate the working relationship with the PDA that we have in town for many years, including this contract negotiation. Any comments from Township Committee? Since this is a second reading, I'll open this to public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep, that's okay. Any comments from the public on this ordinance? Yes, Mike?
How many officers are affected, or how large is the police department?
There's 20 in total, that includes the chief.
And this collective bargaining agreement, Michael, would cover 17?
Actually, all but the chief.
Well, indirectly covers 18, but there's increments above the sergeant to the lieutenant, and then an increment above the chief of police. So we do know the salaries of all, but the union contract covers 18.
No problem, thank you. Hearing no other public comments, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for motion to approve.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Orgo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Engel.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Mayor, I'm going to again abstain as I did on the first reading, but I know some new faces are here. I've been abstaining on the police contracts for the last number of years, as it's been my opinion that we should be developing a contract within a contract for new officers so we can make sure 5 and 7 and 10 years from now we can meet our obligations for the existing officers. So again, with that, I abstain.
So noted. Mayor Shatz.
Yes. Item number 4, ordinance 2015-2, an ordinance amending and revising Chapter 120 firearms of the Code of the Township of Colts Neck. This is first reading by title. So we updated the ordinance of the firearms last year, and after, as we do with all ordinances, looking at them continuously, Committeeman Orville brought one of the items to the attention, and then the school board asked for a second one. We wanted to clarify the following, which will be added to this adoption of the ordinance, is no person shall discharge a gun, weapon, or any firearm on any property owned by the Township of Colts Neck. So we wanted to make that a little clearer. And we also changed to 450 feet of any school playground, the limit now 450 feet of any school property line. So there was no confusion about where the playground was as opposed to the whole property of the school. Any comments from the committee? If not, a motion to approve?
I would make that motion, Mayor, but I do want to look, can we further engage the school board on that in terms of the 450? The 450 was the state's distance from playground, we've now made it from property lines.
Right.
I evidenced a concern when we were doing the discharge ordinance, because I really truly couldn't understand how a mega mall offender could not be within 1,000 feet of the school, but someone with a gun can be. So I'd like to revisit it at some point in time, and maybe look at that, depending on how it will affect the map. But I'd move the current amendment to the ordinance.
I'll second.
Great, roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Orgo.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Engel.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor Shatz.
Yes, I'll set a public hearing of this of February 11, 2015. Item number 5, resolution 2015-24, resolution authorizing formal transfer of funds from the 2014 budget. This is housekeeping that we do at this time of each year. So we're transferring $17,600 from streets and roads and salaries and wages from there, and also tax assessment administration to recreation services and programs and maintenance of parks, including things that came to light during some of our latter storms in 2014, tree removal as safety items in some of our parks and fields, and just upkeep of our properties, sometimes as simple as grass cutting and removal. Any comments from the committee?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Orgo.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Engel.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor Shatz.
Yes, item number 6, resolution 2015-25, authorizing award of contracts for professional services with an estimated value that may exceed $17,500. The way that the administrative code reads is we have to do one resolution for contracts above $17,500 and one's less than $17,500. This one happens to be above $17,500. Any comments from the committee?
A comment for the public's consumption is the couple of professionals asked for raises. I think to a person, these folks have not been given a raise by this committee in 5 or 6 years, I suppose.
Generally operating under 2010 rates, and no increases to any professionals were granted by the governing body this year.
With that, I would move the resolution.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Orgo.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Engel.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor Shatz.
Yes, resolution 2015-26, authorizing award of contracts for professional services with an estimated value of less than $17,500. Comments? Motion, please.
So motion.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Orgo.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Engel.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor Shatz.
Yes, item number 8, resolution 2015-27, establishing 2015 recreation program fee. So on a continual basis, our Director of Parks and Recreation looks at fees for programs to make sure that they're profitable and reasonable to our residents. So these are programs, mostly exercise programs that take place at a number of different facilities, most notably our recreation office and center on Hires Mill. We've had a chance as a committee to look at these and discuss them. Any other questions? Okay, motion please.
Second.
Excellent, gentlemen. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
Councilman Engel?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mayor Sharp?
Yes. Resolution 2015-28, a resolution authorizing the chief financial officer to cancel grant appropriation reserves against grant receivables. Bobby, why don't you and I talked about this, and you can give a little summary of it?
This was bookkeeping in preparation for audit. Not losing any money, grants or anything. It was just journal entries and bookkeeping required by the order.
And it's a different amount of $500. Comments? If not, a motion?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
Councilman Engel?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mayor Sharp?
Yes, it's this time of year to start our zero-based budgeting process, which I've been very proud to be part of for the last 8 years, and look forward to this 9th budget that I'll be participating in, where we literally have discussions to the point of stamps sometimes. That's how detailed we get every year. Yes, I'm sure I'll have it this year as well. And we have a number of dates that we need to settle on today. So I know for myself, all the dates that were proposed were good. I think a few other people said they were good. I think you said all good.
I think Mr. Wargo has
The 21st.
Mr. Wargo has a conflict on the Saturday, 21st. I believe Mr. Mackinon's good with dates, so.
I'll check with my boss and see. Okay.
So I don't know, in regards to Mr. Wargo, if we want to start the following Saturday, I think that's good for everybody.
28th.
28th.
Yeah.
We've been able to do it before.
Well, I think I said the 2 longish Saturdays, meaning 1 p.m., 8:30 to 1 p.m., and then probably 1 weeknight, and then 1 closed session, usually after a township committee meeting to go over non-union salaries. So you guys are veterans, you're getting pretty good at this, so you know the questions to ask, and you know what to look for, so I think it should go fairly good. So 28th?
Excellent. That will be our start date at 8:30 a.m. here at Town Hall. If you'd be kind enough, just send an email, just
Yes.
wrapping that up, confirming, especially for Committeeman Matt now, that would be great. Administrative reports.
No report tonight, no, thank you.
Thank you. Item number 12 is motion to approve vouchers. Mike?
I did go through the vouchers. And they were obviously all the usual suspects in terms of the transfers of taxes and the like. Nothing else of interest. I guess the only thing that the administrator and I discussed was the cost of repairing some vandalism damage to soccer fields, which is a little bit unusual, so it's a name you might not otherwise recognize. Clint,
$1,000.
$1,000 for repairs. We had it over a number of days. We had vandalism day after day. And we were able to repair it all for $1,000. It was outside the public works. So to do that, with that, I would ask for approval of the
Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
Councilman Engel?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
yes.
Mayor Sharp?
Yes. Township Committee reports. Jared, can you start us off this evening, please?
Sure. I'm happy to announce I was at the recreation meeting, and I was informed that all of our parks, like Big Brook Preserve, Bucksville Recreation Area, Township Hall, they now have an address. So what does that mean? It means that now if you want to find a location, you can actually plug it into your GPS, and it'll take you right to the park. In the past, that was always a problem. So each park now has an address for those folks trying to find them, so they'll be easier to find. Other than that, I think, and obviously, just I want to commend our Public Works Department. I know we all feel the same way. I went out at noon the other day, and this was yesterday, and I was just amazed at, how great of a job they did.
Mike?
I echo that. I think that the Public Works just prepared for the 20 inches predicted. We didn't get it luckily, and still handle it. I noticed that Cold Snake got the most snow in a long time.
8.2.
Yeah, we won.
Another record to have, right?
The only thing that I think falls within the committee report for me is that the mayor's request, I've been keeping track of the JCP&L electric rates, just to kind of make sure that we're still on the right side of that on the aggregation program. I will tell you that as of about a week,
And let me take a step back. The issue came up because there was discussions about JCP&L going to BPU about reducing their rates. That's great. You know, newspaper headlines, I don't even know if they've applied. If they've applied, they haven't been approved. And if you look here on electric bill, you'll notice that the contract rate we talked about is still nearly 10% better than what the JCP&L rate is. If you look at your actual consumption rate, it's slightly over 10 cents for JCP&L.
It starts in March.
But I have the direction from you, and I'll continue to watch that. For those of you that don't know, we did negotiate a provision in that aggregation contract that in the event that the JCP&L default rate falls below the rate that we've contracted, we would then move out of that aggregation program and into the JCP&L default rate. And that's an opt-out. I can't think of anything else I was supposed to.
Okay, Tom?
I didn't have any committee meetings here last week, so I've got nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. I would imagine you know, as citizens of the town, we have some of our emergency service personnel, like Mr. Ryan on the fire department. When there is any type of event, not just our 911 calls, but the storm that we experience, is there's a number of people that plan for those storms continuously. I was happy to be part of that for this storm, as I will for future storms. We met the day of, before the storm came, from our fire services, first aid squad, police department, office of emergency management, public works, and administration, and really put together everything. If you didn't know, overnight, overnight and into the next day, our volunteers not only were ready to respond, but instead of responding from their homes, went to the fire houses and the first aid squad and slept on air mattresses at best, or the floor with a sleeping bag. So the dedication is just phenomenal from that. Our Public Works Department, we had at one point with our Public Works and our contractors up to 25 vehicles out plowing and salting. I know it's early and probably an unfair question for our administrator. He'll have a better feel probably in 2 weeks or so, but he's pretty good at this. An estimated cost, you think, for that storm? Yeah, $50,000. So it's a lot of money. But I've always said that the reason that there is government is for security, safety, infrastructure, and quality of life. So that's what it's all about, and I was very proud of all the people that participated and have and will continue to participate when we have events like we did over the last 2 days. And I was very glad that it was less than what they predicted. I do have a little fear that the next storm, everybody will be like, yeah, it's not even going to happen. So I still would, when there's travel bans and any other safety features, I hope everybody follows them. We had one motor vehicle crash during the storm. I can tell you prior storms, 20, 30 crashes that happened. So I think people really listened, got home, and I hope that happens in the future. And that also allowed the plows to do their job in a very effective manner. So that was very nice. Thanks to Public Works.
One small thing, we ought to send out another letter because the amount of people that were pushing snow out after the road department got done was unbelievable.
Well, it is, and I'm sure some of you have seen it when you went out. It was kind of discouraging. It was such a good job they did, and then to run down the road and just see people that kind of pushed from their driveways into the middle of the road. So there is an ordinance against that. There's actually fines that can be given, but we really hope people use a lot of common sense. And I understand the plowing of the driveways, obviously, but we need to just move it to the other side of the road. It would be very nice. I also think that this particular storm, as opposed to many that I've been involved in, our Office of Emergency Management Coordinator, Michael Burke, just spectacular. Everybody's done a great job, but Mr. Burke did a phenomenal job in communications and coordinating everybody, so I appreciate that very much. One of my committees is local and regional schools, and we do have an announcement from the PTSO. Music Boosters proudly presents the Relive the Beatles. So if anybody is free on Friday, January 30th at 7 p.m. at the Cold Sunk High School Auditorium. Sounds like a fun musical event, and this benefits the Cold Sunk High School Band for repair and maintenance of their musical instruments. $15 at the door, $10 for students and seniors. So I will leave that up here for anybody after the meeting that would like to get more information on that. So that's all I have, so we will move from comments from the public. Steve, if you could announce your name and just the street you live on.
Yeah, hi, I'm Steve Candela. My wife and I own a home on Saddle Ridge, where I actually run a small business out of as well. If the council will indulge me, I'd like to read a semi-prepared statement. The statement is fully prepared, but I'm only kind of prepared, so it's a semi-prepared statement in total. But the reason I want to do this is that I'm here for speaking for more than just myself. I'm here representing my wife as well, Dr. Heather Grossman, who's the Chair of Pediatric Hematology and Oncology at North Medical. I'm also here on behalf of my father-in-law, Joseph Grossman, who's in Florida right now, but for the last 50 years he's appeared in front of this board and has appeared in front of the planning board many times. He's been instrumental in building Colts-Neck into what it is today. I'm also here on behalf of about 30 different households that I've spoken to in the Colts-Neck area, some of which are here tonight as well, others of which can't be here. We all share a concern about a proposal that I know there are people in this room more about than I do, but there's a proposal in front of the Homedale Planning Board for a sports complex. And just to make sure that this is on the record, I know council members know about this, but the proposal is for a fairly sizable outdoor complex on Route 520 on the farmland between Route 34 and Route 4. Essentially, it would eat up the entire 90 acres of that property. This area where it's been proposed to put is primarily a business district in Homedale, but it borders dozens and dozens of Colts-Neck residencies. As part of the proposal in front of the Homedale Planning Board, there are 12 what I consider fairly substantial variances requested for this project, many of which are potentially environmentally disruptive. Others enable this complex to extend into what are traditionally buffer zones on adjacent properties, and others are meant to sort of reshape this portion of Monmouth County by introducing a parking lot of more than 400 spaces, a 67 square foot illuminated sign at the complex's entrance, and many, many extremely high and extremely bright lights. By what I understand from the variance, there's about 80 lights proposed in total, 30 of which would be 8 feet tall, and 50 of which would be about 25 feet tall. We find this particularly troubling because this complex will be a private corporate entity, meaning it'll be under private control in terms of who can use it, when, and how. So as residents who live near this property, we're concerned about the impact of this project on the quality of life in the area, as it will serve as a significant source of light, noise, and other pollution and dictate traffic patterns in the area. Some of my neighbors are here to touch upon these points specifically, but I really want to urge people in attendance to not underestimate the breadth of an impact of a project of this size. People tend to discount this as a very local issue, but we have, for example, found online reports from other communities where large stadium-style lights were put up in what people thought were a distant area, where they thought the traffic would be manageable, and it turns out 6 months down the road, neither of those are true. The lights are impacting neighbors who are fairly distant, impacting traffic in ways that aren't anticipated. So I just would like people to think of it as not necessarily a local issue, but as a Monmouth County issue. My neighbors and I also share concerns about how this potential project has sort of materialized so far. Per my understanding, and again, there are people in this room who understand this better than me, but prior to this summer, the property in question had been designated a rural conservation district. In September, an ordinance was passed by Homedale Township granting conditional use to this land, conditional use which very specifically permits this development. Although we would, in my neighborhood, have objected to this ordinance in principle, we received no notice that it was under consideration, no notice that it passed. Further, the specifics about the proposed soccer complex were unknown to most of us until the week of January 19th, when some of us received certified letters speaking to the appearance of this proposal in front of the Homedale Planning Board, in fact, if not for the storm, this would have been in front of the Homedale Planning Board last night. I think it's noteworthy that we as citizens aren't aware that Homedale Zoning Board has been involved in this project at all, which is, I think there's a question as to the appropriateness of this, of their non-involvement, given the sensitivity of the building on that land. So as a community, we feel like we haven't been given ample opportunity to research, to comment upon, and potentially oppose this initiative. And further, as private citizens, we feel like we're up against some pretty significant logistical and legal hurdles in our current opposition. And that frankly, and I'll say that I feel this probably more than anybody, I feel somewhat underinformed, inexperienced, and ill-equipped to oppose this project on our own. In contrast, of course, I feel like Colts Neck has an infrastructure, has experience with this, obviously has a certain clout that private citizens do not. So we're here tonight to sort of urge the town council to support us and support the residents who are opposed to this program as negotiations continue with Homedale. I think that's consistent with what Colts Neck has always stood for previously in terms of their values and their aesthetics of what they want, particularly in terms of managing traffic and managing outdoor lights. And I just want to, on behalf of my neighbors, some of whom are going to speak now, put this on the council to please consider it as active support as you can.
Excellent, thank you, Steve.
And thank you.
Other comments? Nobody from, I just want to finish up this one particular topic. Yes, sir. If you could just give your name, your street.
Yes, Howard Hirschhorn, 1048 Highway 34, Polstead. I have no comments about the statement this gentleman made, very good, but I volunteered to get whatever information I can about these, either Musco or Musco lighting. They specialize in sports lighting, extremely bright. If we can see the light from the moon, 238,857 average miles from Earth. We can't miss lights that are 80 feet high, 8 stories, 28 of them, and we live very close to it. If they were up now, you would think that it was daylight, 24 hours a day. And I believe that adversely affects the property values of the people that are within distance of it, where we can see it. And you feel a loss of privacy. I know my neighbors and I, we felt we're going to have lights in our eyes all the time. We don't, the atmosphere of living in Colts Neck, I've been here since '78. I feel it's been substantially diminished. Like 80-foot lights, enough to cover a field, a soccer field. Now, I don't follow sports myself, but every once in a while I would put on TV, I would turn to a channel where there's a baseball game, football game at night. Looks like daytime with these lights. So I just wanted to add that at this time.
Appreciate that, thank you. Any other comments? Tina, just your full name and your street.
Sure. My name is Tina Friedman, and I live on Route 34 in Colts Neck. I have been in Colts Neck now for over 3 years. I was before that in Marlborough Township for almost 20 years, where I served on the Environmental Commission as well as the Open Space Board there. And I was also, for a number of years, the president of the Monmouth County Environmental Coalition that was spearheading the community to help clean up both Burnfly Bog and Imperial Oil, which were 2 Superfund sites in Monmouth County. I'll wait till that
Throw one for plot.
Good time. Okay. I wanted to comment on it. It was excellent. I mean, I'm concerned about the lights and the quality of life too. I think that's, really terrible what they have proposed, and they've asked for a number of variances. But I also, as an environmentalist and as a resident that's living within 200 feet of this particular proposed project, I feel, obligated to really talk about the Category 1 stream that runs along and adjacent to that property. It's a Category 1 stream that is significant to the state in that it needs to be protected because it's a tributary to the Swimming River Reservoir that, gives water to over 300,000 residents in Monmouth County. So it's really important, and I know Colts Neck is really sensitive to environmental issues as well, so I wanted to make sure that if you weren't aware of that, that you are aware of it and the significance of it. Because I'm a resident, I also received 2 letters pertaining to the applicants needing a variance through the DEP on this waterway, one pertaining to a flood hazard area, and one for an application for an individual transition area waiver, both that I don't believe should be granted, and I would ask that Colts Neck look into this. I feel that because the water source is part of all of us here in town, that this is something we need to protect, and ask if the council would please consider writing a board to the department, DEP, the New Jersey DEP, looking into this and protecting that water source for all of us. I, also feel that particular, there's so many variances being asked on that property, and a big part of that is the lights, the water source, noise, and also traffic in that area. You could see in the morning people lined up on 520 trying to get into Vonage and getting home at night, and I just think that it's going to be incredible disruption to all of us trying to get home in the evening and also maneuver around on the weekends. So I just wanted to come before you and just give you my thoughts on this matter. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Tina. Anybody else from this? Mrs. Wright?
Yes, Dorothy Green, and I'm just concerned about the traffic patterns. I spoke to people in Highfield Lane, which is right near 520. They have a hard time getting out on the highway as it is, but one neighbor I was speaking to, and they said, oh, as far as the lights, they said, oh, we just moved here from Middletown. It's such a nice rural spot. And when we look up to the sky, we can see the stars. With that light halo, we're not going to see anything. And it's a good point. They're up high, and the lights are going to be coming right in at them. But anyway, that's not the only point. The point was the traffic and the parking spaces they have. Their plan is for 8. I think there's 6 synthetic fields and 2 natural fields. They totally, except for one grassy area in the middle, which I do believe that they eventually want to put some indoor facility on. At this point, they totally they run the whole perimeter of that entire property. I mean, it is like mind-boggling to see a plan of this. And when you think that there are going to be 4 of those lights on every single one, it's going to be absolutely illuminating the whole thing. Then the parking lot, 406 parking spaces. Now you have 8 different fields. There can be 18 people on each team. That's 36 just players. You've got the parents, you've got the referees, you've got the spectators, you've got the coaches, you've got all these people. I have a hard, I don't quite believe that they could possibly not overextend that 406 lot capacity when you have tournaments that could be statewide. This home bill group is part of the group that's at Carlstadt. They have indoor leagues. These leagues are going to be having these lights on until 10 o'clock at night. They're going to be having it from 8 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night. They're going to be barraged with noise, lights. It's just overwhelming to think of. I'd rather have an industrial park. But anyway, I was talking to a friend of mine today whose child was involved in soccer tournaments, and he said, oh, when those tournaments happen, they'll all come all at once. It's about, for about 20 minutes, the place will be just crazy. And when they can't park, they'll park on the lawns, they'll park anywhere. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so the parking lot's full, and you have 520, but you can't even walk on. So what are they gonna do, park up on Highfield, or out on the other, South Street or something, and walk on 520 to get to this event? This is a big operation. This is a commercial operation. They are paying a lot of money to do this. They're putting down over 400,000 square feet of asphalt or synthetic field. This is a big commitment on their part, and they're going to try to maximize their return at our expense. We're going to really be suffering that. Every single weekend that you could possibly be out on your lawn, you're going to be hearing screams, whistles, cheering, and at night, lights. This is Colts Neck. That's Hometown. Where are we? This is not what we all are here for. And we really feel like we've been, first of all, as Steve said, this was not in any way in our knowledge, any of this going on, until 10 days ago we all received these letters saying that we were to appear to allow for the variances of these 80-foot lights and these 27 other double pile lights. And it's like, oh my God, it's going to be like a landing strip. So anyway, we on our side of all of us on the Colts Neck side are raised up. So effectively, we're going to be looking down into this whole sea. I don't even have window treatments on my windows because I don't need them. Now I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm going to have to cover up our windows just to keep the light out. It's just a nightmare. So we really feel like we would like to have Colts Neck help to support us in trying to do something about this project. It's enormous.
Great, Dorothy, I appreciate your comments. Any other comments about the sports complex? Sinky.
Sue Quinn Hawkins. I live on 11 Saturday Road. I just want to add to some of the comments. I don't have anything new to add, but I think the important points that I do want to make is the impact of this proposal is on the Colts Neck residents and is not on the Homedale area because surrounding them are mostly businesses. So the impact is really on us, and it's very important for Colts Neck Township Committee to remember that the impact is on us. And one thing that I know there are regulations and there are rules. I didn't get a notice because I was not within whatever 200 feet, but yet I will be greatly impacted. So I wish more of us would have gotten a notice. It's really only a handful of people who got notice who spread the word around, because there are many more people who will be impacted. And unfortunately, without the knowledge of our good friends here sharing them with us, we wouldn't know. And we're sharing it with you now to ask for your support as our township committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
I have another comment to make. My wife and I generally will take a walk through Thompson Park before going to the office. And when there are soccer games on, you can hear a roar whenever a goal is made, whenever anything of accomplishment is made. And this is in the daytime. And Thompson Park, where they play, the fields are quite a distance from the residential area. But when you are walking around there, you hear it. Now, at nighttime, the thought of hearing possibly a public address system or some reason to celebrate or not to celebrate, why should we have to listen to that? We live in what we like to think of as the country.
Thank you. Steve?
If I may, just a couple of points to pick up. I'm very grateful for my neighbors, well-spoken and passionate. Please, all of us, I think, have a lot of value. But three things to just sort of put a capstone on what the things that were said. One, as Cindy said, only certain residents were notified, and I think all of us probably do have a responsibility to protect the interests of those people who two, for the two handfuls of Colts Neck residents that are here, and certainly Tina and I can talk to you about this, we've each spoken to 10, 20, 30 more. You guys obviously are civic leaders, you know this better than me. Everybody wants something done, but nobody is actually going to do it themselves. So there's another 50 people waiting for us to report back on how this went. So this has some pretty big breadth to it. And the other thing is I just want to reiterate that this is a corporate entity. This isn't public domain land. This is not a public park. I mean, the corporate entity in control of a piece of land like that, they have a lot more latitude in how they use the land, when the lights will be on and off. And I know they have specific plans. Now, if we object to the specific plans, I also don't have total faith that the specific plans will be completely huge at all times. For example, there's no plan for sound speakers right now, but you can't tell me that you're not hosting a regional tournament and people would say, we're just going to bring a couple PAs so everybody can hear us, and all of a sudden somebody leaves the PA there and that's there every weekend. And so I think slippery slope arguments don't have a lot of power, but I am concerned because it is a corporate entity, not a public entity that control of it.
Richard?
Yeah, Rich Ream, 1151 Highway 34. Are you familiar with it? Do you want to see what it looks like on a map?
Actually, we all have a copy of that, but,
You do.
Okay.
yes,
All right,
thank you.
So, and I also want to thank you for hearing us and hopefully taking this seriously because we are quite concerned over in this part of Colts Neck.
We definitely appreciate you coming out tonight. I've had the pleasure of meeting the majority of you, knowing some of you before this particular project came up. Just to kind of keep you up to date, as your township committee is fully engaged in this ongoing discussion. Our both town planner and our planning attorney have been advised of it and have worked part of the project already. I have written a letter on behalf of the Township Committee and the citizens to the chairperson of the Homedale Planning Board and the Homedale Mayor and Town Council there, talking about life quality issues such as noise pollution, light pollution, and traffic impact. We are going to be discussing additional steps that need to be taken. One of the things that I've seen and very proud of in our government system is that groups of citizens can move a project one way or the other. So I appreciate those of you that are kind of coming together, being one voice, and why it's another meeting to go to. I know many of you are planning to go to the planning board, but may I suggest looking, and I'm sorry I don't have the date right in front of me, but a Homedale Township Committee meeting.
February 10th, yeah.
Would also be probably just a suggestion, because we are talking through letters, but public comments are very powerful. So I think that would be a good idea.
I'm sorry, did you say besides the planning board meeting, going to the township council
Yes,
in Homedale?
yes. So again, I know it's another night out, but that would be, I think they should hear from the citizens as well, because I do agree with the comment that the impact from a residential perspective is much more on Colts Neck than it is on Homedale due to the location of the project. And it's always hard for those of us who live in town. There's a reason we live in town, same reason I do, and been privileged to be brought up in town, is I'd like to see 90 acres with one house on it, like I've seen my whole life there. So it's tough to look at properties like that, as we have lost some in the past, even in town, to instead of just seeing green, seeing some other things. So I think we're on the right track, and we will. I just want to assure you that the township committee is fully engaged in this. Yes, please.
Just ask the mayor if I can add a couple of comments. For those who I haven't met, I'm Michael Fitzgerald. I've been on this township committee for, I guess, 5 or 6 years. Sat on planning boards, zoning boards in this and other towns. I will tell you, and what I want you to know is you have seen some of the faces of the township committee people over the weekend. I will tell you personally, I was on vacation away for a weekend in Connecticut. I spoke to 2 of the other the township committee people, both before and after the meeting that you had on Saturday. The information is being shared, and I would suggest to you that you take the mayor's suggestion. The township committee in Homedale, we have a voice as an adjoining town, but we speak as like to say, hate to say it this way, but a kind of a hollow gong. You know, we're faceless. We're a municipal entity. We're the adjoining municipal entity. Although the letter's been sent by the mayor, our currency doesn't necessarily travel. Having said that, you all have a currency that does travel. And I would encourage you to go to the township committee meeting in Homedale, because somewhere along the way, they did pass an ordinance, or they changed their zoning map, or they changed the zoning of that particular piece of property, which was on a public notice, but certainly not to the real affected folks. And you should feel free to go to those meetings. You should also feel free, and I know that there's some freeholders going to kill me, but the reality is the freeholders will also make decisions on Route 520. They will have to approve the traffic study for Route 520. That's a county road. The State Department of Transportation will have to approve the Route 34 traffic impacts. Your voices should be heard there as well. The more places, more voices are heard, as the mayor indicated, will resonate much more loudly than the letter from our corporate entity with the Colts Neck committee letterhead on it. So I would suggest to all of you that you do your research, check those other alternatives. I will tell you that having gone through the 520-34 corridor at various times during the day or night, I will tell you that you'll learn a lot more about levels of service than you want to know. But that level of service there is probably a C or a D because it's so bad. And those are the kind of things that you'll want to know when you go to voice your concerns at those various other meetings. I apologize for burning the record, but having lived some of this over time, I think that that may be a very effective way to express your message.
And Mayor, it looks like the next Township Committee regular meeting is February 3rd at 7:30.
Yep.
So I would suggest, I'm looking at the website, it could be wrong, but I think we should all take a look at that. And it looks to be before the February 10th planning board meeting, the timing of it might.
And let us know if the Homedale committee doesn't let you speak at the public comment. I don't hear that.
Well, I appreciate that. I think many of us were considering that. I just want to extend the offer the other way as well, because I don't want to discount the currency that the town council holds. So to the extent that the council is comfortable as a town entity or as individuals, we certainly would welcome your voice at those meetings as well, particularly in terms of speaking on behalf of residents who are unaware or underinformed.
One other housekeeping thing, and I apologize for burning the record, but we had specific conversations, so you know, both before and after the meeting that you had on Saturday at 4 o'clock, right? At 3, it's 3 o'clock. I wasn't at a different time zone, so I don't have that excuse. But I will tell you, one of the concerns that we had is that Jared and Jim went. We have to be very cautious. We, believe it or not, can't have 3/5 of the township committee, the ability to make a decision, it really in one place at one time with some political exceptions. So we have to be very cautious about it. So please don't take anyone's non-appearance or that there's apathy in any way. The information is being shared as best we can, but we sometimes have to fight with one hand tied behind our back.
So for example, Tommy did want to come, we told him not to.
And thank you, but I actually recognize that, and I did try to caveat that to the extent that you're comfortable, which encompasses a lot of things that I'm not aware of in terms of what the council can and can't do.
There's some monsters we have to wrestle that are tough to explain.
Yes, and I don't envy you those.
Tina?
Yeah, I just want to, just reiterate again one more time that, this was not an ordinance change. This was a conditional use change. And the fact that Homedale did not inform the residents of this township or the council and mayor of what was happening, to me, is disgusting. And I think that needs to be looked at. I just don't think it's proper procedure. I don't know the law, but I know in land use, if you're going to have a significant change on a property that's zoned a certain way, it has to go usually before zoning, and it didn't. And I'm really disturbed by that. And if it went through zoning and we all had the opportunity to go and they made that decision anyway, we had the opportunity to raise our voice, but we didn't. And I just, I don't feel like they did the right thing by the township or the citizens here, so.
Thank you.
Again, I second it.
Mike, I left out DEP when I was making my comments. You can express your concerns with the county, DOT, but I may have misspoken, I apologize, Tim, you brought it up, but any person, quite frankly, I think anonymously you can write letters to DEP under any applications being considered. So you can write directly to the DEP as any individual. You don't need a lawyer, express your concerns there as well.
Vince?
Yeah.
Yes, just to help clarify how has been happening, this project has already gone through the county's development review committee process and received a conditional approval. Applicants have options. They can go first through the municipality and seek an approval there, and then go to what are considered outside agencies, state, county, etc. after. Or they have the right to come first to those outside agencies and get approval. There's no requirement procedurally as to which they choose to do first. In this case, this applicant has chosen to go first to the county, where they have received a conditional approval, and the conditions are minor housekeeping matters. And the review of the county done by the Development Review Committee. Now, I sit on that as I'm chairman of the County Planning Board, and I sit on the Development Review Committee. Our reviews are limited very precisely to impacts on county roads, bridges, and drainage structures. So this means that we don't get to say, we think it's a wonderful project, we think it's a terrible project, we like the lights, we don't like the lights. That's not, we have no jurisdiction there. We do have reviews by traffic engineers in the county, engineer's office, and these are conducted. This project originally proposed having overflow parking with access at Vonage. Then that was what they first brought. After that, they said, no, we've done away with that, we're not going to go for that. So, therefore, we judged it solely on what they were presenting to us, which was 406 parking spaces. And on that basis, it was reviewed by our professionals who said it's not going to have an impact on the county road. And based on that, and based on, therefore, the fact that it's our professionals, and we are guided by our professionals, because impacts on roads, bridges, and drainage structures are very technical determinations. And based on their determination, they found there is no problem with it, and therefore, we have given it a conditional approval. So that's the status of it at the county right now. I don't want you wasting time thinking we'll go there, because they've been there. And I don't know where they've been at other levels yet, but I mean, what Community Fitzgerald said was right, and that's.
What does it mean, conditional, excuse me?
Conditional means that you look at your project and you say, okay, it's fine, what we have to do is calculate, maybe just calculate the amount of bond you need to put up for something, or there are minor, essentially housekeeping conditions that are considered pro forma. They're not major conditions. It's enough that a lot of times it comes to being a bond that needs to be posted for any road improvement or something associated with a widening or a curb cutter or something like that. It's a calculation that is left to the engineers to calculate, and they work it out. Just tell the applicant and professionals. And so the approval is conditioned upon them accepting that. So that's sort of it's one of those things that happens every day. These are minor conditions.
Which county road is, 520 is?
520.
34 is not?
No.
That's the state, okay.
Right.
So the county study result is that there are no impacts to Route 520?
The county receives a traffic engineering study from the applicant. They submit this material to the county. The county professionals review it and make a determination.
Based upon their study?
And based upon but they tell us whether or not they agree with the study submitted by an applicant. They don't just take the applicant's word for it. I mean, there are projects where we looked and said, our professionals said, we don't agree. And they go out and take photographs and do all sorts of analysis in the field. It's not.
I will tell you that the decision to move ahead with this project lies with HomeNet. for that information. Where your resources are, 'cause that's how the discussion was started, is Homedale is where your resources should probably lie.
Excuse me. One other thing about it, the DEP has to give them an approval. That has to be an approval, even with Homedale. Before Homedale can give it to them, they have to have a DEP approval. So what they got from the county was conditional upon getting all the other lists of things that they have to do.
We don't know if there's an LOI, that we haven't found that out yet. So, but this group is researching very appropriately at this point. And we will have our professionals engaged as well. Other comments from the public?
Yes, Jeff Sauter, 41 Ann Street, Colts Neck. My public comment really wasn't about the sports complex, but I think it was very good that you guys came forward and trying to muster the support of the town committee to try to help out. And though some of Committeeman Fitzgerald's comments were interesting to me personally, he had some very good points that you should take a look at. But with that being said, my public comment is similar to you guys, but a letter that I'm going to read to the mayor of Colts Neck, Jim Schatzel, dated January 27th, 2015, to Jim Schatzel, Mayor. Dear Mr. Mayor, first and foremost, I realize that you were not present at the December 17th, 2014 Township Committee meeting when Mr. Mack now so eloquently proclaimed as mayor that he controls the meetings, that he can interrupt public comments anytime he likes. Mayor Mack now further stated during what I'll simply define as the dissertation on control, that when he is not mayor, then you will control the meetings in 2015 as mayor, and so on down the line. However, given Committeeman Macnow's most recent statements and demands at the January 14th, 2015 meeting, I'm left wondering who is actually controlling the meetings now. Is it still Committeeman Macnow, who demanded me like an atrociously misbehaving dog or child to sit down multiple times? Or is it you as mayor who unfortunately put your head in your lap or papers once again while Committeeman Macnow publicly berated me so that you can pretend to hear or witness nothing? No citizen should ever have to be treated the way I did, especially as I stood there quietly in the back corner preserving my basic right to speak, which was denied clearly by both you and Mr. Macnow. Regardless of how you personally feel, it should be an embarrassment to everyone sitting at that table with you, including all residents present and the township at large, in how our elected officials speak towards members of the public. So when Committeeman Macnow states that I'm an embarrassment, then clearly he and likely everyone sitting at that table should first start looking at themselves in the mirror to see who is actually an embarrassment. With respect to Committeeman Fitzgerald's proclamation that he feels completely justified to interrupt citizens' comments whenever the facts, in his opinion, are not accurate is very unfortunate to us all. Regardless of anyone's interpretations of the facts, one of the founding principles of our society today is the ability to have a free, open, and in this case, a civil discussion on any topic of public interest. So for Mr. Fitzgerald to openly and publicly proclaim his desire to interrupt and censor such discussion goes against the very fabric of our society today. As a sidebar, Mr. Fitzgerald quickly states that I'm disrespectful after I quietly walked around the room distributing copies of my letter dated 12/2014 while responding that I'm listening, but somehow fails to acknowledge his own utterly disrespectful actions when abruptly interrupting public comments. Finally, since Committeeman Fitzgerald goes against such basic principles of civil and orderly discussion, you may want to reconsider your decision to have Mr. Fitzgerald sit this year as a liaison to the Student Government Day. Personally, I don't feel Committeeman Fitzgerald exhibits those qualities that we want to pass on to our future young leaders. Beyond Committeeman Macnow's embarrassing public outbursts towards us all, and censorship again, Let me again quickly address the statement that you, and definitely Committeeman Macnow and Fitzgerald, didn't want the public to hear yet again. At the December 17, 2014 Township Committee meeting, both individuals very publicly and emphatically stated that the $25,000 in legal expenses was because of an Oprah request and subsequent GRC complaints. When attempting to make a public comment concerning such misleading statement, I was immediately censored. As a result, I was forced to complete my public comment at the January 14th meeting, in which I stated that said cost was the direct result of the custodian of records' denial of access according to both GRC interim orders. Nonetheless, I find it particularly striking that Mr. Macnow now attempts to suddenly divulge more facts to correct his earlier fallacies. We now hear that the $25K includes those expenses associated with litigation and not just the GRC complaints as earlier proclaimed. Interesting how the facts come out or manipulated for damage control purposes. Clearly there is a double standard between what you and the committee can say or do and what the public is allowed to say or do. Township committee members can abruptly interrupt public comments when we're allegedly making false statements, but we, the public, can't interrupt you when such false statements are made. Township committee members can abruptly end a public comment, but we, the public, can't abruptly end yours when false statements are being made. Township committee members can respond to public comments, but we, the public, can't respond back, especially when it is attempted in a civil manner. Township committee members get to clearly pick and choose what questions they want to answer, but we, the public, have no say in that decision-making process. Finally, township committee members can exhibit angry outbursts with extended counter comments, but we, the public, quickly hear the sound of the gavel and told that we're out of line. It is abundantly clear that members of the Township Committee harbor personal opinions about certain citizens. However, please do not let these opinions cloud your judgment and have the courage to stand above those opinions. Stop the censorship practices, be fair, and above all, be civil toward all citizens of this great community, respectfully. I'll provide copies. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Joe?
I have a question that's totally out of line with everything you considered. There was an article, 2 articles in the Wall Street Journal this week about license plate reading. Do we still do that? We do. And why do we do it, and what happens to the data, and how long is the data kept? Because there's various suits going on throughout the nation on that. I know I was here, I just don't remember the time Bob was here, this guy Tony was here, and I know there was a lot of discussion about even doing that because of the cost. The then mayor, the lumber guy, I forgot his name.
Forrest.
Yeah, that one. Didn't want to get involved. But what do we use that for? Do we count people going into the fair?
No. So, remember I always talk over and over again, right? Safety, security, infrastructure, quality of life. So safety. So when technology becomes available to our police department to make it a safer environment, we look at that. Of course, there's always a cost associated with it, and whatever happens to any upgrades we do to any of our departments. We did decide one year to buy a license plate reader. It's based on one of the trunks of the cars. So when you see one of the police cars that have almost looking like cameras on the back of the trunks, they're fairly large, the size of a shoebox, for lack of a better description, on each of those. And then a year or 2 later, we bought a second one. So it's fascinating technology. If you've ever seen a police car parked on the shoulder of Route 34, so we've all seen police do laser for speed control. This one, every car that passes, it's reading your license plate. If there is somebody who does not keep up with the law, such as registration, insurance, or even more serious, no license or stolen vehicles, it alerts on the police officer's computer immediately. So now it captures the information, it captures the time, it captures the location, and they can respond right away. The articles that I also read that you referred to, maybe not in the local papers that I saw, talked about the malls. So if you're not familiar, also when you go into Freehold Raceway Mall, it's not on police vehicles, it's on a light stanchion. So as soon as you come through any entrance or exit, if you will, of those malls, it reads your car going in and your car going out. So we're doing it strictly for enforcement of whatever law that everybody should follow there.
Did we ever do it? I remember Kevin, the police chief, started stating, and he mentioned the example of the mall and how it helps in safety and security and all that. But didn't we initially do it when we had the fair at, never?
No, just they're roving, so it's not a stationary
Now,
situation.
how long do they keep the data
I
here?
don't know.
I think it's fair, I can answer a little bit, Chuck, a couple things. One is, I think the premise of the article about, in the local paper about Freehold, one of the Wall Street Journal articles in California was, some towns like Freehold pass a local ordinance, and the local ordinance makes it illegal in that town to park an unregistered vehicle, or an uninsured vehicle. That's a distinction that's significant, because what they were doing was, when cars come into the Freehold Mall, they identify a car that's not registered, they read in the local ordinance violation, which does not require the person to be in the car, nor does it require them, the vehicle to be moving. So they read the local ordinance, all that money goes to the township, none of that goes to the state. If there are Colts Neck officers write a ticket for an unregistered vehicle, I think all but $1 or $5 of that goes to the state, and the only thing that comes is the court disposition fee for here. I forget what it is, $1 or $5. It's a very small number. But I think the data, my recollection is the data is kept for 3, 5, 7 days. It's not a long-term thing. And I will tell you, as you know, I prosecute in a different town here in Monmouth County. I wish we had more readers. I push for them. I wish we had more of them, and I wish we kept the data longer. Because the reality is that the technology has the ability to check and see if cars are literally operating in patterns that don't make sense. If they're riding around in circles, they're riding up and down the same street, and that car is registered to someone from Delaware, for example. They should be going up and down that street 5 times over the course of 4 or 5 days. So the deterrent effect for criminal is very, very valuable. It also detects stolen cars that have been reported stolen. So I wish we used more of the technology, and I apologize for going on about it. But it is pretty good stuff, and it's deterred a lot of the problems.
Has the expense gone up?
It's about the same. It's $20,000 for the cost of the unit, and then we have 2 units now. The first one was 5 years or 6 years old now. And there's been some small additional costs associated with the maintenance and repair of them, but other than that, it's been a minimal additional expense, and there's been much stronger enforcement.
Well, this article in the Wall Street Journal, the second article, or the first article had to do with the DEA, which is the Department of Justice, Drug Enforcement Administration, and the borders, but also the ACLU, privacy, because they claim some readers can take images. Now, I don't know whether ours does that, and there's a privacy concern. I'm just mentioning, because I know we had a discussion.
Yeah, to my knowledge, ours don't take
But I didn't
images.
know, but I'd like to see that local work. I didn't know about that, and I agree with Mike's explanation. Even though I don't like the fact that the money goes to the state.
I think it was in both the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger. My joke was, if you find the Asbury Park Press, there's a Star Ledger the day before.
Thank you.
Any other comments? With that, I'm going to close the public session, and we have Resolution 2015-2020, right? No, I'm sorry, 28, executive session. We don't expect to come back into public session. Any comments? Second, please.
Second.